Today I've got something very special for JDM fans. I'm here to talk to Dan about two of his pretty tasty cars. So if you're into Japanese motors, stick around, you're going to enjoy this. I'm Scott and welcome to Not Mark II Golf Stories. Let's go. Right, Dan, thanks for having us. Today we're here to talk to you about this, your 2007 Subaru Forester, and something else pretty tasty we'll get into in a little bit. This isn't a standard Forester, is it? Do you want to tell us exactly what we've got here?
So, ProDrive offered an aftermarket kit. You take your car to ProDrive and they go through it, they put new ECU, better wing arms on it, a bit stiffer, and basically gives you a bit more power, a bit more road holding ability. And they also put a nice high flow exhaust and intercooler piping in there as well to help the more power be a bit more effective. And sound a lot nicer as well, because I think Hayward and Scott made the exhaust for ProDrive, and obviously they're well renowned in the Subaru scene. So it's stainless steel all the way through from ProDrive.
Nice.
Kit. Depending on what year you had, the XTs came with, I think, between 235 and 245 as standard, dynoed around 275.
So you've got quite an extensive car history, which we're going to get to in a little bit.
Yeah.
You've had quite a few Jap cars. What is it you like about JDM?
For me, my car history started with Euro, but not what people think of when Euro. Like people think Euro cars, think maybe BMW or VWs. For me, it all started with French cars. Like my very early history, I had 180SXs, and they were like super great, super fun little cars to tune and like bomb around in and take the track days up. They're super light, super fizzy little engines that were really fun to drive. End of the 90s, early 2000s, when the 180SXs finished, kind of brings you stuff like the Civics. That era of Civic was really kind of the same kind of vibe. There's not really particularly a love of what they are or anything. It's more of like how they feel to drive. I think that's what drove the two JDM cars. They just had that same kind of vibe that I really enjoyed about what the 106 was like. They're kind of fun to drive without being megally overly powerful, which is important when you're sort of an 18, 19, 20-year-old kid just messing around with cars. I ended up finding a Suzuki Swift Sport. I was like, that really kind of felt like a bigger boy version of the 106. I had that for a long time, and then it kind of just went on from there, really getting into JDM cars, because I suppose it's a balancing act. When you think of, like, I really like a lot of the VW cars, you know, like GTIs, and later on now the R. I remember the R32 was first launched. Like, yeah, that's really, really tasty. But it's a very strange thing. Like, you probably end up spending the same money in the end, because I think the barrier to entry for like German cars or like VWs and Audis and stuff is like, okay, the initial layout, but then because they're globally sold, the parts market is quite cheap aftermarket. But the price to entry for like a Jap car of similar performance is lower, but then the aftermarket is a lot more expensive because a lot of the models aren't sold, like in the US, for example, or they are sold but they're not exactly the same spec, so there isn't that kind of global market of aftermarket parts. Like, right. You can imagine, you know, like a VW Golf, like a Mark 4, 5, 6, 7, they're pretty much the same all over the world. So you've got aftermarket tuners everywhere making parts, and if you want to make a fast Golf, it's pretty easy and not too expensive, but the initial outlay is a lot more. Yeah. So I think that's the other thing. It's like the barrier to entry is a lot lower if you want like a quick, fun Japanese car. Yeah, I think that's probably where it came from. Is like falling in love with that little Swift.
All that spur your love for the Japanese cars. So how long have you had this? What have you done to it? And what plans have you got for it going forward?
So this I got after the little one came along. Before this, I was actually driving a Panda 100 HP.
Nice.
Which again is just a really odd car, but it's like, you've been following the story so far, it just jumps straight back into that power to weight, like fun little car, absolutely love like bombing around, and just loves being driven, you know, to be there. You're never going to get in trouble because it's not fast.
Yeah.
It just feels great. It just feels great driving
Feels
around.
fun.
Yeah, super fun little cars. Highly recommend getting one if you can find one that isn't now overpriced. So yeah, this one I've had now, what, probably 2 and a bit years. I never really had much plans for it because it was basically supposed to be a daily.
It's pretty nice daily.
Well, thank you. But yeah, cars are an addiction and you can't leave them standard, can you?
No.
So
Definitely not.
I tried to not have plans for this, and I've just sort of fallen on it, having some nice coilovers, some nice wheels and tyres. I found a nice sim-style rear spoiler attached to another Forester that someone was scrapping, so that's ended up on the back, so that needs paint matching now. One thing I did find that I really liked was these new old stock kind of rare wind deflectors.
Nice.
Which is really bizarre on these cars because they are pillarless doors. Front and rear, which is like a Subaru thing. They don't believe in door pillars. So yeah, so the wind deflector actually goes up into the bodywork,
right,
and replaces a piece of trim that lives up there.
Right.
I mean, considering this isn't like a luxury car in most people's terms, pillarless doors and windows.
Yeah.
So,
La-di-da.
la-di-da indeed. With having the Pro Drive pack on it, it has enough horsepower for me. I know some people would say 275 isn't a lot nowadays, and it isn't when you think of like GTIs and Golf R's and S3s and all that coming out nowadays are 300 plus. I think we're back into horsepower wars, but really anything over 200 is more than enough for the road, in my opinion.
Absolutely. Yeah. Unless you're driving something that weighs 3 ton.
Yeah, so there's something really big, but
yeah,
it's quick enough for a family wagon. And considering it's only got the 5-speed box as well, I wouldn't really want any more out of it.
Yeah. Now it's time to talk about this beauty, Nissan 180SX. This is your project car, isn't it? This is your baby.
Yeah.
You've had it a while. Do you want to give me a bit of history on this car? Because it looks pretty unique.
Yeah. So made in the 90s in Japan. This one came over to the UK in 2017. Super low miles on the original export docket has it on 18,000 kms, which is not a lot. Unfortunately, some of the previous owners haven't treated it very well, as you can see by the hacked hole in the bonnet.
Yeah.
And a few other things that have been sort of messed with. It should be a Type X, so it shouldn't have the pig nose front nose. And the horrible fiberglass body kit that's on the back.
Which I'm a fan of, but you don't like.
No, well, you have to see it all together. It's all very much when you have the whole body kit on.
Yeah.
And with it being fiberglass, if you drive the car at any sort of speed, like you can just see it flapping in the wind.
Right.
Which was great fun when I drove it up from Kent when I bought it. This car has led me down a bit of a rabbit hole to try and find as much as I can out about how it works. So we've got some original Japanese booklets.
Can you read Japanese?
No, but thankfully Google Translate can do that job for me. This is a catalogue hyperrev. A lot of Japanese people will know this. This is basically parts, which is something I need a lot of for this thing, because I want to try and get it back to semi-stock state, which is why I bought the pig nose, because the pig nose front end is the most similar to the Type X, and I can't find a Type X front end at the minute.
Why is it called pig nose?
Because it's got those two little nostrils. The facelift front end on these was really rounded. They tried to make it look more modern, in air quotes, and it looked really odd because it's like like a really kind of like soft, rounded front end on a car that is quite angular, especially when the pop-ups come up. It had a very strange, to me, strange looking front end with the facelift, and then they came out with the Type X, which was a return to the kind of the retro look with the squared off front and rear bumpers and the bigger side skirts. Which is the only thing I found original Type X is the side skirts. This is a 180SX. They were sold around the world with different names and different engines. So in Japan it was called the 180SX and sold with a 2-litre engine. In the UK it was called the 200SX with a 1.8. Go figure. The only place they got it right was America, where they sold it with a 2.4 and they called it a 240SX. But that was a truck engine and apparently isn't very good.
Truck engine.
Yeah. Very reliable but not the most fun. So a lot of people go for this engine that's in here, which is a 2-litre turbo red top SR20, which is very famous in race wars from Fast and Furious.
You got a bit of work to do on it.
Yeah.
Do you think you're going to have it ready anytime soon?
Well, looking back to when I bought it, I thought I only owned it 2 years, but apparently I bought it in 2019 and it's been sitting doing not a lot basically.
Yeah.
But yeah.
At some point then.
At some point, I mean, like the thing runs and drives.
You move.
I drove it from the garage onto here, so you know it can move by itself. But yeah, I mean, when I bought it, I drove all the way from Kent, so
yeah,
did that trip fine. It's just been a bit unhappy since. I think it just needs new spark plugs and stuff. I think just to make the engine happy. The guy that imported it first, back in the day, it wasn't cool to look after these because they were seen as like drift missile cars, and if you want to fit in with the cool scene kids, you wouldn't look after it.
Why?
I don't know. It's just one of those things that
right.
People didn't really.
I've never been cool. Never just claimed that, so I wouldn't understand.
No, I mean, because when it arrived, it was like pretty much mint. Wasn't in the state it wasn't. I bought it with this horrible fiberglass, my opinion, horrible fiberglass body kit and stuff. But I don't know really. Like underneath the bonnet, then the electronics have all been like hacked and spliced just to run like a 2-step and run all those gauges just so you can have fire coming out of the bonnet.
That I'd like to see.
If it was running properly, I'd drive it up and you could see it. But there is actually an old video of it when it was being tuned. I've got when the other guy owned it. Really, I wanted it to look like a retro, what it would have looked like in the 90s if someone had bought it and modified it then. So just a bit lower with like pretty much a standard Type X body kit on it, and like just redo these wheels. Like I don't really want to do anything really with it. I want it to be running right.
Mm-hmm.
And just for it to look like the 23,000 kilometer car that it is.
Yeah.
It just looks so rough. It just like, yeah, I don't know. I can't get my head over the not wanting to look after it.
That's weird.
Aspect of that scene. There you go. That's what it is.
So you've given us a partial history of your cars.
Yeah.
So just give us the rest of them, what you've had in the past, because I know you've had some mental cars, and they've always been fun. Hit me.
A car that I've not got a photo of was my first car, which was an ex-British Airways Manchester Airport Fiesta diesel van.
Yeah.
So that was proper random. Didn't have that long. Diesel pump went on it. I sort of borrowed a little Fiat Panda off my dad for a bit. Mark I Panda, which he had at his shop. And then my first proper actual car that was mine was a Peugeot 106 XSI.
Is that the red one?
That was a grey one.
Oh.
Which had the 1.6 out Saxo VTS or VTR. I can't remember which way around they went.
I
don't know. It was a 16-valve 1.6 anyway.
Nice.
And that was mental. That was really too fast for a first proper car. Because again, those things, they are just tin boxes. They weigh nothing. Like, they weigh nothing. That was great. Basically, my dad ran a business that needed a fleet of cars. So I took it, left it in the garage that they had for that to get repaired. But then one of the guys who ran that garage needed a car to run around in one day and ended up getting hit by a bus.
Oh, shit.
So he got shortened by a few inches. Was technically written off. So that's when I went and started looking for another 106. And that's how I ended up with the red 106 Rally. Which I bought at the time, not really knowing much about it. And then progressive, that was the car that I had for a long, long time because I found out what it was, how rare it was, and found on the online community for 106 Rally and the Rally Register, which became like quite heavily involved in, did lots of trips with the 106s and some of the 205 rallies around the UK and stuff, and going to track days, etc., shows and stuff. So that was a car that I babied for a long time. I mean, that needed so much work to, I mean, mostly for me doing hill climbs and stuff in it, really driving it to its edge. So I ended up getting billet block made and all kinds of bits and bobs, straight foot gears. It was a cool little car, really quick for what it was. And it was only 1300 8 valves. The rallies were lightened from factory. You had like a really big inlet manifold and stuff as well to really make the most of that 1.3. That was a car that really screamed. Like, I loved it. Like the revved up loads, and it sounded really good. Again, super fun to drive. Like I went to uni, so I needed a car that could cover the distance from here to down south in South Wales. So I ended up buying that Audi, which, I mean, that was pretty much all that was good for, was covering distance economically, because it wasn't fast, it wasn't great to drive. I got a set of H&R lowering springs on it, and it, you know, it sat right and it rode well. But it wasn't quick. But after that was the VT with the C4, which just was a disaster. I should never have bought that because there's nothing wrong with it, but it was just like an odd, really left field choice. I don't know why I decided I liked it. I think it was because I was doing a lot of driving on the motorway, and it had all the gadgets, had like cruise, adaptive lane assist, had all this crazy technology in it. It had a floating steering wheel, which is really weird.
What's that?
The steering wheel wasn't connected to anything. It was just like floating.
Okay.
It was like in the dash.
Yeah.
The center didn't move, and it kind of like you could.
Oh, weird.
It was just really, really weird. It had like heads-up display, and it was really cool in some ways. It looked nice because it was the hatchback one, not the slug weird round bum one. It was like the cool looking one that was a rally car one. It had the wing on the back. It kind of looked.
Yeah.
People say it looked like a DeLorean. I don't see it, but it had that weird, like sharp back end. It did look nice. That one quickly came and went, and that's when I jumped into the Swift, which was like my car for a long time. And that's probably where like the Jap stuff started, because that's when I started going to shows and stuff like Jap Fest and Jap Fest North, like Alton Park and things like that, and doing a lot more track days again, which I really missed from having the 106. So it was nice to have a car that kind of did it all. Like that little Swift did a lot for me. Like it was my main car, then it was also a track day car. It was, you know, a lot of fun. And it definitely another car I'd recommend picking up if you're looking for something that's like a Civic but cheaper. Try and find an old Swift Sport, because the little 1600 Mi16 engines are great. You can really make something really good out of it. I mean, I know a few guys in the club, they had supercharged ones and turbocharged ones. People comparing like which one was better, like was the supercharger better or the turbocharger better. Supercharger kind of made it feel like a smaller, what do we call that, like a mini GP one with a supercharger, like. Moved on to the Impreza, which was a whole lot of fun, and again, that was a car that I never really thought I'd sell. That had a lot of modifications on it. That was like a car that I had for a long time. So that had got custom yellow sport floating brakes front and rear, had 6 pots in the front, 4 pots in the back, custom floating disc setup, really big brakes, bigger than the Brembos that were on the STI at the time. Again, there's all just for tracking it, because you could outbrake a lot of stuff. You could actually get around the track quicker than some of the cars with more power. But again, that was mapped to about 280 brake. Which again, not massive numbers comparatively nowadays, but with the all-wheel drive, and just the way that the gearboxes are in the 5-speeds in the Subaru, they're dead short. Even in that, I think it's the same gearbox in the Forester. First, second are basically non-existent, but you're launched. And it's that really nice. And again, also before 1552 were massively being sold in the UK through a lot of dealers. I was dealing with the guy down south who was importing them to get, I think, one of the earlier sets of 10 block Turbo Max on it as well. After he was only doing Crown car, they were quite a popular wheel in the States, and then that was kind of the wheel that they launched over here with 52 with the Turbo Max and the Tarmac, which are the big 5 spokes. Another part that came from the US was the stainless steel HKS nurse spec exhaust. I got the street one because I'd heard that the sport one was a little bit too loud, and obviously with the track restrictions in the UK, it can only be like 90 decibels. So.
Didn't know that.
Yeah.
Oh.
So this car's gonna have to get a new exhaust as well.
Not too loud.
That is well over 100 decibels, which kind of proves the point with this car that the guy that owned it was only doing stuff to be in the scene and never actually ever saw a track day, because it would never have got up to noise.
What a poser.
Yeah. Not the guy that I bought off. The guy that I bought off was a really nice guy.
Oh, right.
The original guy who
The original owner. Yeah.
I got some carbon fibre parts and stuff from Sims. Got the bigger rear spoiler, not the big WRC spoiler, just a smaller kind of ducktail.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much it. But yeah, that was a brilliant car. I had that for ages and ages and ages, really. I actually sold it to buy that.
Forester, or this?
No, this. The
Oh.
180SX.
Fingers crossed.
They were going up and down in price. And just came across the right price. I should have probably have known better. Now, thinking about it in hindsight, as to why it was at the right price, but there we go.
Well, you know, we all make those mistakes. That Golf was at the right price for me, and I've had to rebuild the engine.
Yeah, but I bought it sort of knowing it was going to be a project car.
Yeah.
So it's just become more a project than I had anticipated. I had hoped to be driving
Always
it that
the way.
summer. But there we go.
Yeah.
So I sold that to buy this and a daily. And I think at the time, the daily that I bought was, I think it was a Lupo. Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
It was a Lupo, red Lupo. So there you go. That was my entrance into the VW scene. I bought a Lupo. It was a 1.4 TDI. I bought 500 quid, which good luck finding a decent Lupo nowadays for that.
Yeah.
It was great. It was red. Standard VW kid stuff.
Yep. Covers.
John blue lines. Got some big. Got some 15s on it. Like 8.5J wide. Made sure they scrub nicely against the arches.
Lovely.
Got the pop-out rear windows for it.
Oh, nice.
It was a proper nice little car. Got that map to, I think, was it 110, 130, something like that. It was too fast for what it was. Didn't brick. The amount of camera having to run it just basically skittered around the road. It was a really silly little car, really great. Probably would buy one again if I could find one for a similar.
500 quid.
Yeah, even if it was 800 quid, I'd probably buy another one, because super cheap, super fun little thing just to like bob around in.
Yeah.
I really like the look of them, especially when like lower with big wheels with like wide wheels. They kind of look very evocative of the scene we grew up in, like probably in the 90s. Look at the old Euro style stuff.
Yeah.
Small cars, deep wheels,
Mm-hmm.
very low, just looking cool. Cheap to run, cheap to tax. You can literally just drive it around, not worry about it. So yeah, that quickly died. So I ended up buying an MX-5 as my daily, which was fun. Found a hard top for it, so that was all good. I'll say that the hype is real with the MX-5. Like, proper fun little car, not fast, but proper driver's little car. You know, you have to not wring its neck, and it's really fun. I kept that for a bit. I was doing too many miles, and it really was costing me a lot of money. So that's why I ended up buying a Fiat Panda 100 HP. I was getting a bit sick of the winters as well. The MX-5, even with the hard top, it was still really cold. The Panda 100 never really got the love it was supposed to from Fiat, because I mean, I think they could have easily slapped an Abarth badge on it and called it the Panda Abarth. Probably would have sold like hotcakes.
Yeah. It would have been fun as well.
Yeah, it would have been like a really good introduction to the Abarth, but I think they were too nervous about the 500 Abarth not selling, so I think they probably waited for the 500 to bring back the Abarth name. But I think they were thinking about it because a lot of the mouldings for the wider body that's on the 100 do have the little scorpion on. So I think it was crossing their mind whether they were going to call it what they were calling the fast Fiat before they brought Abarth back, which was sporting. Yeah, it didn't bring back the name until the 500 came out, and they decided to bring back the name for that. Which then leads us to the Forester, which I managed to buy because I'd sold the Panda for more than I bought it. So that's pretty much up to date, I think, unless I've missed a couple out. They're ones of note.
Great. Quite history.
Yeah.
Quite extensive.
And I was looking for the Forester for quite a while. I did want the earlier shape one because there's a few more things you can buy for it, but in hindsight, with it being a daily, probably good that I didn't get that one.
Yeah.
I've probably been buying parts left, right, and centre. But didn't do a lot of research on that shape. And, I mean, basically, it's just a facelift, so a lot of stuff will go on. Parts-wise, just not body-wise.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's been great. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, no worries.
Show me any cars, car history. It's been great talking to you. Good seeing you
Good
again.
chatting, good chatting, man.
And yeah, that's it. That's this episode. If you liked it, what to do? Click on like, or subscribe. Leave a comment. Tell us what you think of these cars. Do you like JDM? Do you hate them? Are you V-dub only? Hopefully you are, or not. Thanks a lot. See you in another episode again soon.